Good morning and welcome to another fresh edition of your breakfast show on Leadership Television inside Nigeria. Today is March Monday 24, 2025. And of course, my name is Winifred Ugbebo, your host on the program. On the first segment of the show, we are looking at what the papers are saying, national papers that is, including Nigeria's foremost and influential newspaper, Leadership. Let's see what Leadership is offering on its menu this Monday. It said, despite Right to Food Act, 11 million children battling with severe food poverty. Despite Right to Food Act, 11 million children battling with severe food poverty. The children are, of course, Nigerian children, and the kickers to the story says, as malnutrition worsens in northern Nigeria, 3.7 million children in Northeast are malnourished, FAO. 787,000 pregnant breastfeeding women face acute malnutrition. These are leading story to the main cover. That is the kickers to the main cover story today. Despite Right to Food Act, 11 million children battling with severe food poverty. This is not helped also by the hardship currently ravaging the country. Still on Leadership newspaper, bandits kill 10 Zamfara security guys, 3 others missing. The story is on page 4 of Leadership. Bandits kill 10 Zamfara security guards, 3 others missing. Pope Francis discharged from Rome hospital. Soldier with spinal cord injury cries out for help. The story runs on page 6 of Leadership. Soldier with spinal cord injury cries out for help. Court fines MTN 840 million naira for trademark offense. USAID court threatens TB treatment in Nigeria. The story is on page 7 of Leadership newspaper. And towards the business boss, we have stakeholders fume over scarcity of CNG conversion filling centers. Stakeholders have expressed frustration over the scarcity of compressed natural gas conversion centers and refueling stations across the country, despite increased awareness of CNG as an alternative fuel. Nigeria's plan to transition from petrol to CNG as a cleaner and more affordable fuel alternative is facing significant challenges. These are just the paragraphs to the second leading story on Leadership newspaper this Monday. Stakeholders fume over scarcity of CNG conversion filling centers. With that, we move to the stories above the masthead of Leadership. Wike lost Tinubu's impact on higher education. Argon directs LGAs to open account with CBN. On that note, we move over to the page 3 of the paper where we have our stand. Today's stand is on expectation from opposition coalition. The recent announcement of a coalition of opposition leaders ahead of the 2027 general election potentially marks a significant shift in Nigeria's political calculation. Led by former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Labour Party's 2023 presidential candidate Peter Obi, former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai, and other prominent figures from across party lines, this alliance evokes memories of the 2013 coalition that birthed the All Progressives Congress APC and eventually toppled the then ruling People's Democratic Party PDP. Just reading you some paragraphs from today's stand on Leadership newspaper. Expectation from opposition coalition is no longer news. Yes, the opposition coalescing to form a coalition ahead of 2027 to topple the ruling All Progressives Congress from power. From our stand, we move to the back page of Leadership where we have Monday column with Dakuku Pitty's side. Today's column is on enablers of authoritarianism in Nigeria. And enablers of authoritarianism in Nigeria. In quotes, the ruling APC has so much power to manipulate the democratic systems unchecked and with impunity. Quote from today's Monday's column with Dakuku Pitty's side, enablers of authoritarianism in Nigeria. That's actually a tongue-twisting word, authoritarianism. Well, from that column, we just bet at Ghana must go. Still on the back page, it says Senator Karimi says Natasha Yahaya Bello saw it coming. Senator Karimi and Ghana must go replied another bench warmer. Interesting. With that, we conclude review of front headlines, back page, inside today's stand on Leadership newspaper. For more, don't forget to log on to the website of Leadership for continuation of these stories, www.leadership.ng. From Leadership, we move over to the next paper, Naira for crude, and that is what the Punch is leading with this Monday. Marketers fear price hike as federal government suspends sale to Dangote. Naira for crude, marketers fear price hike as federal government suspends sale to Dangote. IPMA slams depot owners for stockpiling products. Federal government Dangote resume talks today. South Governors National Assembly plan to reconcile Fubara lawmakers. Story runs on page 2 of the Punch. Petrol crisis eases in Niger after Nigeria's bailout. Page 36 is where you have the continuation of that story. Jigawa plans cattle rearers registration to curtail Niger's herdsmen's influx. Jigawa plans cattle rearers registration to curtail Niger's herdsmen's influx. From that, we move to the story above the masthead of the Punch this Monday. Atiku becomes Tako Bode Judge. Shekarau over anti-coalition comments. The story is on page 2 of the Punch, and that's where we conclude review of front headline stories on the Punch newspaper this Monday, March 24, 2025. For continuation of these headline stories, don't forget to log into the website of the Punch newspaper. Let's head up to the next paper on our list today, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard says another explosion rocks gas facility in Rivers. The story runs on pages 8, 9, and 10. Another explosion rocks gas facility in Rivers. Headline story today on Vanguard. Monday, March 24, 2025. And of course, the riders to the story. Tension as Niger Delta militants reconvene. 5 days after suspension, Fubara appears in Port Harcourt. PDP board rejects demands reversal of reverse emergency rule. Support group blames Tinubu's decision on misinformation. Serap sues Tinubu over suspension. Emergency rule in Rivers says dangerous precedent. NNPP chieftain. Imagine Rivers without state of emergency, coming from Onanuga. And of course, for that story, we also have the picture of the suspended governor of Rivers State, Mr. Siminalaye Fubara, when he attended Sunday service at Salvation Ministries yesterday in Port Harcourt. The story beneath the leading story, another explosion rocks gas facility in Rivers. Still on Vanguard newspaper, ECOWAS highway project, federal government seeks stakeholders cooperation in Lagos corridor. Inflation, manufacturers record 90.6% rise in cost. Inflation, manufacturers record 90.6% rise in cost. Delta Air's e-treatment of Nigerians unacceptable, NCAA. And in sports, Raw warns Super Eagles, says don't take Zimbabwe lightly. And that takes us to the stories about the masthead of Vanguard this Monday. Oceanic Bank, our story coming from Cecilia Hebrew, the SYMD of the defunct bank. Oceanic Bank, our story, is a story that runs on page 14 and 15 of Vanguard newspaper. Meanwhile, Onayekon cautions political leaders against misuse of power. Onayekon cautions political leaders against misuse of power. And on State of the Nation, Ame Bute says, I don't know when we'll have peace again. The story is on page 42 of Vanguard. State of the Nation, I don't know when we'll have peace again. Ame Ebute. Is on that note, we conclude review of front headline stories on Vanguard newspaper this Monday, March 24, 2025. For continuation of these headline stories, head up to the website of Vanguard. Let's move over to the next paper we have on our lineup, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian's main headline story is on U.S. aid withdrawal. Drug shortages, uncertainty squeeze HIV/AIDS TB clinics nationwide. U.S. aid withdrawal. Drug shortages, uncertainty squeeze HIV/AIDS TB clinics nationwide. Underneath that story, facilities ration antiretrovirals, cut 6 months supply to 1 or 3 months. HIV response under threat in FCT, 33 states, NEP1 says. Federal government pledges 700 billion naira to plunge foreign aid supply shortfall. This is the main story right as to the main cover on The Guardian this Monday, March 24, 2025 edition of the paper. US aid withdrawal, drug shortages, uncertainty squeeze HIV AIDS TB clinics nationwide. Other stories gracing the cover of The Guardian this Monday. Bakare Ezekwesili profiles solutions to Nigeria's leadership crisis. Anxiety in Kano as Bayero Sanusi plans separate Durbar celebrations. Concerns over constitutionality of suspension of tenured office holders in Rivers. It continues on page 6 of The Guardian. Concerns over constitutionality of suspension of tenured office holders in Rivers. Nigerians see good governance, not 2027 distractions. That is the editorial today on The Guardian. Nigerians seek good governance, not 2027 distractions. Meanwhile, towards the masthead of The Guardian, Adebayo dismisses SDP merger as Lamido urges rebuilding PDP. Presidency says suspension of Fubara orders not power grab as governor appears in public. Obasanjo decries Oyan Dam neglect, incessant borehole drillings. That also concludes the review of front headline stories on The Guardian newspaper this morning. For continuation of these headline stories, don't forget to log into the website of The Guardian, www.theguardian.ng. From The Guardian, we move to the last paper on our lineup this Monday, and that is our sister publication, National Economy. National Economy is a weekly business paper on the stable of Leadership Newspaper Group. And today's headline story says, Dormant Ajaokuta Steel gobs 1 billion naira in pensions orders in 2 years. What is happening? This is a story you must read. You must log into the website of National Economy or grab a copy of the paper to read why this is so. A steel company that has been dormant for years is still gulping 1 billion naira in pensions and orders in 2 years. Still on National Economy, rebase CPI, new era for Nigeria's inflation tracking. Is a story that continues on page 21 of National Economy. And still a countdown to leadership awards atop the masthead of National Economy. We have Lawa, others get leadership awards. It continues on page 5 of National Economy. And just before we leave the paper, we cannot help but go to the page 3 of the paper where we have the editorial. And the editorial on National Economy this week is on tuberculosis toll on Nigeria's economy. It's on that note we bring to our court the review of National Economy business newspaper this Monday. Don't forget to log into the website of National Economy, www.nationaleconomy.com, for continuation of these headline stories. It's also on this note we conclude the first half of this program, Inside Nigeria. The second segment of the program is coming in shortly with our guest in the house. Don't go away. Stay tuned.
Be part of our brand. Leadership for God and country.
Leadership TV for God and country. Leadership TV for God and country.
Welcome back to the second segment of the show, Inside Nigeria, breakfast show leadership television, where we discuss trending short stories and, of course, what newspapers are offering on their menu. My name is Winifred Weber. Once again, of course, I have my Monday guest in this house. He's a political economist. He's also a public affairs analyst, Ali Elias. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program. Well, without mincing words, we want to look at what national economy, Nigeria's our sister publication, a business newspaper, has as its menu this Monday. It says dormant Ajaokuta still gobs 1 billion naira in pensions, others in 2 years. What is happening here? This is a dormant Ajaokuta steel as is captured, yet they are paying pensions. It's a company, a steel company that is not producing nothing, and yet the staff are still being paid.
Right. I think there's some segment, very small segment is actually running. But the question is that
It's actually domiciled in your zone.
Exactly. Is it actually productive? That is the question. And most of have people who work there. I presume some of them are more in Abuja than being in the.
Are they producing steel?
Not really steel. There are other things they're actually doing. Because I tried to interrogate him. During the minister of the former governor.
Okay, Minister of
Steel. He actually did well. And now we have our own son as the minister, which is from Kogi, Audu. And is minister and we are having minister for steel for the first time. You know, it used to be a mine and steel, but now we have steel development. So maybe from what we are looking at, I think there's a little sketchy work. Though it's so sad and appalling that we are paying such huge amount and we are paying salary for people that are not actually productive. I think it's not good enough, and that's why I think President Bola Tinubu opted to really have a full-fledged ministry so that we can see how much we can actually work on it.
But what is from all indication, what is actually stalling? Because I remember the Ninth Assembly actually paying an oversight function led by the Speaker of the House then, Yakub Dogara, and they said they were going to try as much as possible to revive it. But why is it defying all odds, defying all logic?
Well, for me, I think there's a global conspiracy not to allow that place to work. Because if it actually works, some importation will not work. Some importation, people will not bring some things to Nigeria. And that's why Nigeria must defy all odds to make sure that it actually works. I think the onus is on the president now. If you can have minister for steel development, that simply means there must be an outcome. That means the minister is not distracted. He wake up in the morning, thinks the steel, everything. And in fact, he should relocate to that area. If I want to urge president, he should just relocate that man to Ajah. Let him be waking up and be sleeping there. I don't know what he's doing now, because
that is over 4 decades.
It's going to bring about a lot of development.
I remember saying 4 decades. That's talking about 40 years, and nothing has happened. And don't you think the equipment, everything is obsolete?
Right. There was an argument at the time. It was a class argument when I was running my program, and some people are saying that even Russians said those people that built it are dead. And now I think they are now saying that they cannot do it. But now I think government is looking at Chinese side to actually come and revive it. So we need to report those things, like you rightly said, they are by now obsolete. 40 years. Look at that refinery that will be then. They are obsolete now, and they are under.
And just what we are talking about.
But you need to go there, see how massive.
Yes, it is. When we are passing.
No, you have to go inside. You are just passing. I don't know if you have had any cost not to pass the major road and pass inside Ajaokuta. Would have appreciated them more. Honestly, everything is there.
Will Nigeria ever get it right? Because this scenario is also what played out with Nigerian refineries until just late last year, when the refinery sprang back to life.
How many percentage? A lot of people produce up to 5% of what we need.
The staff were also being paid their emoluments, even though the refinery did not refine it.
We will not blame the staff. The staff will blame the government as a whole, as the president. And that's why I said we must see the result of this. It's about 4 new ministry or 3. We have Ministry of Blue Economy. We have mines. We have also still development, and we have creative economy. Those are for me, and for me, I think that will bring a lot of employment for Nigerians. So up to now, we have not seen the statistics that actually explain the difference between then and now.
Now there's trepidation in Nigeria following the face-off again, renewed the face-off between Dangote and NNPC. Now for crude marketers fee price hike as federal government suspends sale to Dangote. What is actually happening?
Right.
Just when Nigerians are beginning to greet or heave a sigh of relief, and we have this coming in.
Well, I don't think their friendship will work. For me, I want them to continue to have difference, because that's how you are going to make a headway, but they should allow importation. So when there is three way of competing, Dangote is producing, NPC is producing, and we are importing. However, we must be sincere. Food is a global market. So there is no way Dangote will end up collecting naira, especially now that we have weak naira. So that's why I would say the issue of forex affects.
What is bringing this on is the fact that NNPC has suspended this naira for crude say to Dangote.
That's what I'm saying now. Even Dangote, in the long run, Dangote will be the one to.
Dangote, on the other hand, that's okay. It was also suspending his own.
But that's how it should be. You can't sell to Dangote in dollar or in foreign currency and expect him to, because this is what he's buy. And remember, Dangote, we're not the only one selling to Dangote. Nigeria cannot even supply Dangote crude. So you buy maybe 2 months in Nigeria, buy 2 months outside. So how will he, just oppose those one and bring back his own profits? So for me, I think government should go beyond that. Government should ensure they find all means to make sure that it is naira, not because we have forex problem, right? And we have supply side of forex. But if we pay with naira, and that would have been a very big industry, to have reduced the pressure on the demand for dollars.
Okay. Well, we'll move over to leadership's leading story, talking about food insecurity. Leadership's leading story today says, despite Right to Food Act, 11 million children battling with severe food poverty. That is not surprising.
It is not new news. It is what is staring all of us in the eyes. Poverty, like I said,
even adults are battling with
right. Our income now, we spend over 70% on food consumption. So now imagine other things, rent, transportation, which is the causa effect of even the food. And you recall, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, exactly July 2023, declared state of emergency on food security, and it has not yielded any result. And when he declared, I said it publicly that this is wrong. You're supposed to negotiate with state, because states own the land, before you can say and tell us that each state will bring so quota in 1 year, and now it has not worked. If a common feeder road, we don't have it to bring food in. And the issue of transportation is the core issue. People don't know. It's transportation that costs that increases that even break the food poverty to deepen, because people cannot move from one place to the other. It's quite very, very expensive. If you go to a place like Kebbi, Sokoto, and buy some food item, transporting it is the major problem. So you are going to transport it above the amount you even bought it. That is the major problem.
Thank you so much. We've not seen the end of the declaration of a state of emergency by President Bola Tinubu in Rivers State. Of course, it has continued to generate controversies and discourse. Now, Vanguard says another explosion rocks gas facility in Rivers. Tension as Niger Delta militants reconvene 5 days after suspension. Ubara appears in Port Harcourt. What is happening? Why many people, even President Goodluck Jonathan, actually joined in the fray and said that no, this is undemocratic. What is happening? Are we going to have the president backpedal? Because we also have on some of the papers today on the menu that no quorum was formed in Senate and even in House of Reps before that declaration, that endorsement was made by National Assembly.
Right. You know that there's no end in sight for this issue, because it continues to generate controversy. And you know that President Jonathan is not someone who just talks. like Obasanjo that will always write letter and talk at every point.
So long a
And
letter.
so for him to actually bring that, to have give it a good thought, and from look of things, it was done in hurry for me, because
And
you
you know,
could see
it
that
was said that Senate Supreme Court had already ruled on it and said that no,
twice, not even
yes.
one. So one.
You know,
So
we saw Erufai on
and
national television.
right, and that case was
Yesterday.
not even security,
Yeah,
major security, political issue that would have
It
happened.
doesn't.
And that's why some people, some
But
pundits,
is president not privy to that Supreme Court
some
verdict?
pundits thinks is even the president is taking side and preparing for
Yes,
2027,
exactly.
because we all knew the problem and the team in this case. But now this suspension come, and you don't even only suspend the governor, you also suspend the state,
lawmakers.
the state house. I know the problem now.
The deputy.
The normal law is that let National Assembly take over the responsibility of the state assembly. That's part of the ruling.
Yeah.
But now you just decide to give, but it will continue to generate, and it's good we condemn it. If you don't condemn it, we don't know what will come next, because they are over that did it has given a precedence that is quite very, very wrong. And you can see now they are actually being. I saw Ononuga justifying that case, and if you notice, it is only Ononuga that is justifying the case.
It's already on a 40 premise, because you have the Senate saying that no quorum was formed. But
it's clear.
Because even in Vanguard last week during our paper review, Vanguard also highlighted the fact that only 64 senators were present.
Right.
Where we have how many?
Right, and 73 or 70 will form quorum out of 109. So it's quite, and that's why they resorted to voice votes. If you recall, it was voice votes.
But that voice votes, even with the attendance, you already know that they were not up to 70.
That's the problem. So I don't know how.
Even with the voice votes, you still see that some did not say 8.
This is the political tsunami.
So it's already on the 40 premise.
So
however, the case has been taken to court. We even read that some lawyers too have also gone to ECOWAS.
Well, we hope they will even honor court, because I'm convinced that court will nullify it. But we did actually, because according to some commentators, they said the president have the right on a state of emergency because of any possible breakdown of laws, and and that's what they actually resorted to give out that. But for me, I don't think it's too quick to actually go into that direction, because president should have given them another.
Yes, granted, the president had made several attempts actually to reconcile, but however, the president only laid the blame on.
In fact, look at the communique the president read out. It was just that everything is just on. He never talked about the godfatherism and whatever. Perhaps he's a godfather too, so maybe you understand the other side better than
However, we are moving on. This is Inside Nigeria. Just before we go, let's look at the headline of The Guardian this Monday, talking about U.S. aid withdrawal, drug shortages, uncertainty, squeeze HIV/AIDS, TB clinics nationwide. Don't forget that most of Nigeria's health related issues have always been donor driven, and because with this U.S. aid courts withdrawal, Nigeria is worse hit for it. And that is also the same story on Leadership Today. U.S. aid court threatens TB treatment in Nigeria.
It is quite which is expected that any withdrawal from USAID will cause a lot of problem, because I can tell you the truth, most NGO have been sponsored. I can tell you a lot of friends now who are home simply because they have withdrawn the aid. That shows and that exposes us that we are not actually prepared for all these challenges. But I think the current minister actually said they have budgeted more, but will it be enough? It cannot be enough. And these people will now continue to suffer. People that have HIV, AIDS, and TB becomes an issue, because the more you actually provide antiretroviral drugs, the more the spread reduces. So, and that's the problem we have. And TB is a serious and chronic problem. I could see wife of president said is championing it. So we'll see how far it goes. But this aid is very, very key.
All right, thank you so much. Well, is on that note we conclude today's Inside Nigeria Monday edition. Of course, we've had the pleasure of having company today. Our Monday guest is a public affairs analyst and also PhD in political economics, and you're Elias. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on the program. And my name is Winifred Ugabo, your host on the program. I look forward to having you same time, same station for another fresh edition of the program. Thanks for joining us.
ready for
Leadership Awards and Conference 2024. Join us as we celebrate excellence across various fields, honoring those who made remarkable impacts. Award categories include Person of the Year, Premium Award for Governance and Infrastructure, Governors of the Year, Business Person of the Year, and many more. Stay updated by following us on social media and visiting our website, leadership.ng. For sponsorship and inquiries, contact us today. Leadership Award and Conference 2024, celebrating excellence, inspiring the future.
For watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last